Hello and welcome to the Advent 7 podcast. I'm your host and future Raikage, Tre. And I'm joined by my friend who just wants some damn ramen, Andrew.
Ramen's really good. I've never had exactly the type of ramen that Naruto eats at the Ichiraku restaurant, but ramen's decent. I'm definitely a fan of tonkatsu and shoyu. It's good stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely. And today, we're talking about a staple in anime culture, a member of the big three, Naruto. Believe it!
Believe it!
God, that's so... God, that was so cringy. Anyways, before we get started, we'd like to thank you all for tuning in today. If you're new here, we hope you enjoy the show. If you do, please leave a like, hit that subscribe button, and share this video on social media. We are currently just past our halfway mark on our way to 200 subs. Thank you so much for all recent subscribers.
Let's go!
It's like we're almost there. We're not even in June yet. We're already making progress. Let's go.
Yeah, that's good stuff, man. Super, super grateful for all the new subscribers and the views on our most recent videos. It's been very humbling. We really appreciate it.
Exactly. We could not be more thankful. But once you're done here, hey, why not check out some more of our content? We've got a lot of new people, so they haven't seen some of our best stuff, including our most viewed video on the channel, One Villainous Scene. This is Madara Uchiha. So another Naruto related video. So you guys are definitely going to like that if you like this video.
It's essentially a half hour of us just talking about how Madara just throws hands to a whole army of dudes and just smacks them all across the face repeatedly. It's glorious.
It's really glorious. And after that, why not check out another one of our anime retrospectives? Our first anime retrospective on Food Wars. Another Shonen Jump juggernaut.
Yeah, we talked about Food Wars a while back. That was probably the second podcast we ever did. And we recorded that in, I think, late 2020, shortly after the 5th season has concluded. But that was a big group podcast we did where we just talked about, all the favorite stuff we loved about that series. Another Shonen Jump legendary anime. So please go check that out.
And finally, please check out the tournament, our tournament arc madness playlist. That's right, we decided for March Madness to pit together 16 of anime's greatest tournament arcs and just see who would come out on top and reign supreme. I'll give you a hint. There might be a reason we're talking about Naruto today.
Right.
And with that all out of the way, grab your headbands, start weaving those hand signs, and be ready to believe it! Let's talk about Masashi Kishimoto's magnum opus, Naruto. Spoilers for all things Naruto starting now.
Yeah, right. We are going to talk about the whole franchise front to back. We're this is an open conversation just to delve into our favorite moments of the overall series. If you haven't finished Naruto by this point, this might be a good time to jump ship and then come back once you've finished. But the series has been done for quite a while now, so we feel like it's pretty fair game just to talk about.
Yeah, the anime ended in 2017, so it's been 5 years. 5 years since the anime ended.
How? It ended in 2017?
Yeah.
It feels way more recent.
If I'm doing my math right.
Yeah. I guess it's been that long. The past couple years ago went really fast, but I still remember the day that you told me that the anime finally concluded at 700 episodes, right?
Yeah, the Shippuden anime ended with episode 500. Yeah, it's so Shippuden had exactly 500 episodes, and then original Naruto had 280 something. So total, it's 700 plus episodes.
Dude, original Naruto, by that point, just feels like a prologue to the actual story.
Yeah. And
it's crazy.
It kind of was.
I look back at all the old Naruto episodes I used to rewatch over and over as a kid, the old openings and stuff, and I remember the time, OG Naruto felt like everything. Like, there was so much content, so many arcs and storylines and characters to get yourself lost in. And now looking back at it, it's just one small chunk of all the like huge hype moments that happen in Shippuden. And like all the power scaling that occurs like towards the fourth Great Ninja War.
Oh, power creep!
So, power creep was
cruel mistress.
Look, it's like I know there's plenty of people out there that love the abilities of the later arcs, and so do I. But you gotta admit, like power creep, it's one of the things that Naruto is like a high offender on.
Yep.
It just like I'm pretty sure by the end of the manga, Naruto and Sasuke were just punching Kaguya through different dimensions like every 5 seconds. You know, like you don't just.
It's like we were watching Doctor Strange or something.
A little bit, yeah. Like they were just opening holes in different dimensions and just flying through them every other panel. It's like, oh my gosh, this is quite the leap from the OG days of just learning how to throw kunai and shurikens at trees.
Yeah.
Real quick, I do want to make a note to anybody who is listening. Please let us know how the audio sounds. If we're too quiet or if we're too loud, just give us a heads up. You know, we haven't done a podcast in a hot minute and just want to make sure that all of our hardware sounds good. Also, I see my boy Anime Adept is in the live chat. What up, dude? Thanks for joining us.
Yo, thanks for joining us. Yeah. So let's get started let's just take a trip down memory lane. Andrew, I know you have an amazing story for this, so tell us your Naruto history.
Okay, so how I got into Naruto. I remember when Naruto originally premiered on Toonami, and I looked it up. The date was September 10th, 2005. September 10th, 2005 was my birthday. In fact, it was my 10th birthday. I remember telling my parents, look, like, if we're having a birthday party today, it's got to happen before 8 p.m. Because 8 p.m. on the dot is when Naruto premieres on Toonami. They were hyping that show up for months. Like, Toonami aired several promos and commercials about the show. The people at Cartoon Network knew what a big deal this show was going to be, and that it was going to be like the next big generation-defining show. So I was super hyped for it. I remember sitting down in front of my TV in my family's living room, like probably a few minutes before the episode aired. And after that, every single Saturday, every single time that a new episode came on, I was there waiting for it. I was so obsessed with Naruto as a kid moving forward. It felt so personal to me because it aired on my 10th birthday, and that was around my age where I was really getting into anime like super hard, and like I was just watching TV all the time, waiting for the newest episodes. It was really influential to me during like a crucial time in my childhood. So I've loved Naruto ever since, and I was there from day one on Toonami up until reading every single issue of the new manga as it came out up until 2014. Or it was 2013, 2014 when the manga finally concluded after the fourth Great Ninja arc. So yeah, I was there beginning to end, and just loved every moment of it, really.
That is awesome, dude. So I have a very similar story. I did, obviously it wasn't as big of a day for me since it wasn't my birthday, but I remember tuning into that first episode of Naruto and just being hooked. Seeing that first multi-shadow clone jutsu, I'm like, yeah, this is it. Dude. This is hitting right now. And yeah, I watched every episode of Naruto that aired on Toonami for as long as it was on the air. So that was up until partway through a filler arc. They were in. I remember the filler arc that I last saw, which was like the Star Village arc, and after that it was just gone. And I was like, but I just want to finish the show. Where's the show?
Yeah, when they stopped airing new episodes of Naruto and they cut off and just went right back to the beginning with the first episode and re-aired all of it, I was super confused as a kid. I was like, where'd it go? Why are we doing this? Where's the new episodes? It was it was wild.
It was heartbreaking, but yeah, through that, but watching through Naruto, it's just like I was always there every Saturday. I played that one Naruto game that was on like Toonami.com.
I forgot about that. Yeah, I played that too.
It took place during the Zabuza arc, so that was fun. I played the original Storm games, Ultimate Ninja.
Dude, the Storm games were the peak in Naruto's like gaming life, in my opinion. Like the visuals were so slick, like action commands, like cinematics, a wide roster of characters, and every single iteration of the Storm games just built upon the previous one. So yeah, dude, I still love the Storm games. Also, I remember buying Storm 4 in college, and you absolutely whooping everybody else's asses. Ever since I picked up that game, like you played that game hardcore, so I would just waste all my substitutions up front and just get slaughtered.
Well, that's because it's like I was good, but it was mostly Matt who kept poning us.
That's true. Matt also grew up with the Storm games, so he knew a thing or two. I also remember in Storm 4 the Madara battle cry. I gotta admit, the only thing about the Storm games that kind of like got worse after the second one was the ADR. The dub felt like it was getting lazier with the games. I'm not sure why. That's just how I felt. I'm sure other people feel differently. But
yeah,
there was that time that Matt and I watched you play the story mode, and we heard Madara's battle cry during a match for the first time. What would you describe the battle cry as sounding like, Trey? Like, how would you say it sounded to you?
Now I'm trying to remember. All I remember is you guys making the joke of whenever I played the story mode, he would, whenever Madara was monologuing, he would be like, Madara.
Well, okay, yes, he did do that. It's okay. I will refresh your memory. Here's what Madara's battle cry actually sounded like in the moment. I'm not kidding. Get ready for this. I'm not kidding. I swear to God, you'd be fighting Madara and like throwing kunai, and all of a sudden he'd be like, I am Madara. I'm not making this shit up. Go look it up. It's real.
Yeah. It's like I don't deny it. It's like it's been a minute since I was actually playing through, because that's something I've done in recent times during the whole shutdown thing / a little bit before that. I had bought the original the Ultimate Storm trilogy pack thing, so I could replay all the games since you couldn't really play them on PlayStation 4 since there's no backwards compatibility. Thanks, Sony.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But yes, so I've been replaying through those games, making my way all through all the games. I've only recently finished most of Storm 3, but before I got tired of playing or something like that, I can't remember why I stopped, but I was just like, I think I'm done for a little bit. It's mostly because Storm 3 has the dumbest battle curve in the end, because you have to fight both Madara and Obito, and they're both bullcrap battles. Absolute bullcrap.
Yeah, I watched you play through those. There's a bunch of shit that happens. The Storm games, though, like, it was really fun just playing with the wide roster. I remember pre-ordering the game because there were a ton of extra costumes and stuff you get for each character. I'm always a big sucker for aesthetics in fighting games. And Storm 4 had like a bunch of crossovers too with other franchises. I think it was really funny though when somebody would pick Madara on their team. They'd also put like they put Naruto's dad, the 4th Hokage, on their team as well. So somebody else fighting them would be like, okay, I'm gonna pick Hinata, like little girl Hinata, and we would whoop Madara's ass with little girl Hinata in Storm 4. It was hilarious.
Yeah,
that was always the funniest thing to watch.
Where they programmed it, but yeah, Hinata's
little
jutsu
girl Hinata
dashing
in that game.
would just
It's really good.
hone everything.
Yeah, I don't know why, but she was really good in that game. But yeah, dude, like the games are fun. The anime was just super hype. I think it was around though the time that they stopped airing new episodes of Naruto on Toonami, and they did that massive rerun for like a year or two that I got tired of waiting. Like as kids and as viewers, you don't know when a new episode of Naruto is going to come out on Toonami.
Yeah.
However, this was around 2008. So the internet was really becoming accessible towards kids by that point, and YouTube was certainly taking off. It had been around for about 3 years or so.
3 years at that point.
Naturally, what did I do? I went to YouTube, and I just started watching new episodes of Naruto on YouTube until I found out that Naruto was actually already done in Japan, and that Japan was airing like the first few episodes of Naruto Shippuden around 2008. After the time skip had already happened, and they were already in the Sand Village arc with rescuing Gaara. Mm-hmm. So in middle school, I very quickly caught up with Naruto, realizing, oh my god, like, you know, Toonami was actually behind, and you have all this time skip stuff. You know, Naruto's grown up now. There's a bunch of other things happening. The Akatsuki are back. Like, as soon as I started going to the internet to consume Naruto, it all just peaked for me. It just skyrocketed.
Oh yeah, definitely. I did the same thing. Also, to answer your question, Anime Adept, actually playing the Storm games is probably the best way to absorb at least Shippuden, for sure. Because there's literally no filler, and you get basically the main plot beats. I literally played Storm 4 before and finished the game before they even got close to beating Kaguya, so I already knew how the majority of the series was going to end, because obviously it's based on the manga, and I was an anime only.
Right. Yeah, like Tre here actually really committed to the anime, way more than I did. Like he watched every new episode of the anime up until Shippuden wrapped a few years ago. So very cruel. Like I would tease Tre and be like, "Oh, you haven't gotten to that part in the story yet. Oh, I read the manga, so I already know what happens." But I mean, Tre knew as well.
You were that person for the longest time.
I was absolutely that person to you. You know, I regret it a little bit. It was still funny, but yeah, I mean, I respect your commitment to it. You know, and nowadays I look back at all the filler in Naruto, both in the original show and in Shippuden, especially Shippuden, which was probably more guilty of filler than the first show. But
yeah,
I look back in retrospective of all the filler that came out, and I realize now that if you did finish the manga already, you knew what was going to happen, then the anime still had something unique to offer viewers, to give you a reason to come back. If you wanted more content out of Naruto, if you wanted more highlights for specific characters who never got a lot of screen time in the manga or in the main story because Kishimoto literally forgot about them, then the filler had your back, because you'd be able to get more satisfaction, more time with these characters who deserved it, frankly, and were very layered people. Case in point, on YouTube the other day, I got a recommended clip to a scene later on in the anime where Naruto and Hinata are getting married soon, and Shikamaru has to find a wedding gift for both of them.
Yep.
He has no idea what to buy. Well, guess who happens to show up around the time that he is desperately searching for a wedding present for Naruto and Hinata? It's none other than Temari, his proposed love interest, which all the fans have been shipping for a long time, ever since the Chunin exams. We all knew that there was a relationship between Shikamaru and Temari. It just was never directly addressed by the author. So the anime decided to take liberties and make a whole filler episode about the two essentially having a date together.
Yep. Oh my god, I love the whole build up for the wedding, because it was a series of episodes where everyone's like, what am I gonna do for Naruto's wedding? We had stuff with Shikamaru to basically taking Temari on a hot spring date to figure out, is this a good gift to give Naruto and Hinata for their wedding? just a lot of cool stuff like that. And then there was also the ramen guy trying to figure out what to give Naruto, which will eventually led him to being like free ramen for life for Naruto.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff, and yes, Anime Adept, we will get to the war arc. Let's reminisce a little bit longer on some happier times before we talk about the war arc.
The war arc was the war arc has a lot of stuff happening in it. We will dissect that in due time. I
want to ask you something, Andrew. It's like, was your first YouTube video a Naruto AMV?
Yes. Absolutely. Yes, it was. The first YouTube video I ever saw my entire life. First time I was ever even introduced to YouTube, my buddy Alex showed me the website. He's like, hey, check out this video I found. Shows me an AMV of Naruto with Linkin Park music in it.
Mm-hmm.
Your atypical Linkin Park Naruto AMV was the first friggin' YouTube video I ever saw, and it was amazing. And I spent so much time on YouTube afterwards looking up other AMVs in Naruto with like Sum 41, with Green Day, and like other Linkin Park songs. That was just a renaissance of YouTube, in my opinion. I loved watching AMVs back then. So same here. The literal first time I ever heard the term YouTube, when I was told, go to youtube.com, I typed in the letter U, tube.com, and my friend was like, no, it's youtube.com. And I was like, what? And he told me to look up, a Naruto fight, like the Naruto versus Sasuke fight, and it was just an AMV of the final fight that took like 2 or 3 more years before I even saw it in the anime. Right. Like a bunch. It's especially cool when you see a bunch of fight scenes that you haven't actually like seen yet in the anime. You don't know where it's from. You're like, holy shit, this happens? When did this happen? Yeah, that's always a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh my god.
There is a joke in our friend group that we love to say all the time. We love to mention this, and it's in loving irony, by the way. We're not serious when we say this, but the general consensus that always comes up every single time we talk about Naruto is that it all went downhill after the Land of Waves arc.
It's like, I will argue against that, but hey,
went down. The Land of Waves arc was just peak Naruto. It was nothing but ninja tactics and ninja training. It was everything that the franchise had talked about up until that point. All the lessons that Naruto had learned about how hard it really was being a ninja, and the hard realities that you'd have to come to terms with. There was tons of death and war outside the village. The whole continent that the Leaf Village was part of was not in peace. If anything, every village was constantly clashing with one another in different skirmishes and missions. You know, the Land of Waves arc embodied all of that. Naruto even had to fight Haku, and Sasuke nearly died protecting Naruto, and the Nine-Tailed Fox almost came out. I feel like...
So I can see... And I almost agree in some parts that, yes, this is peak ninja Naruto.
Right. Yeah, it's like that was what it felt like Naruto was supposed to be about, was ninjas at the end of the day. And the Land of Waves arc fulfilled on all of these promises that the story had been making up until that point. It was such a slow build-up over time, and it all kind of culminated together. We also got to learn more about Kakashi, and the fact that he had a freaking Sharingan in the Land of Waves arc. Nobody knew about that. That came out of nowhere. We weren't expecting that. Like, you always guessed, like, what was underneath his headband? Why did he cover his left eye? But it's like, well, I guess Kakashi's just cool like that. He can wear a bunch of cloth all over his face if he wants to. No big deal. And then you find out he's got that badass scar on his eye and all that, and it's so cool watching him mimic the hand signs of Zabuza as they're fighting together. Kakashi barely wins in that fight. It was super duper hype. I still remember the colors from that arc as well. Watching it on TV, it was so much blue and gray.
Yeah,
The
there was
vibe.
a lot of mist being used, so it was like all the colors got muted whenever the fight was going on. But also, my God, my favorite moment from that arc was Naruto and Sasuke working together to pull off the windmill. It's like the death shuriken, and then it turns out to be Naruto. It was like,
oh my God, yeah,
that tactic was solid.
That was crazy. We had never seen that. So that was pretty cool. It's like, oh shit, Naruto disguised himself as a shuriken? You can do that? What?
So yeah,
super duper cool.
So yeah, so there's a lot to say that maybe, just maybe, the Land of Waves arc was probably peak Naruto.
Yeah, I think what I'm hearing here is I'm hearing you agree with me. You admitted that, yes.
Yeah.
The whole series.
Congratulations, you broke me down. But no, I'm going to say that peak Naruto is either the tuning exams, because we all know that if you made it to the tuning exams and you saw Lee drop those weights, you got hooked on Naruto for life. That was it. You're in.
Yeah, yep. That moment where Lee's fighting Gaara and takes off the braces, and Tamari literally says, like, a few leg braces. What does he think that's going to do taking those off? And then she gets cut off in the moment, mid-sentence, when that massive just storm of smoke erupts from where the weights land on the ground. Like, it literally shakes the entire stadium they're in. It's crazy, man.
It's like, oh God. And Kakashi looks like Guy like, you crazy son of a bitch. You actually did it.
Kakashi's like, Guy, that's going too far. You really need to pull up on these kids a little bit, man. Like, that is super duper harsh. Yeah. The tuning exams, let's be real. The tuning exams are one of the most fondly remembered tournament arcs in all of anime. Everything about Naruto changed after the tuning exams, to be honest. That was a transformative period for the entire series. Sasuke awakens his Sharingan. Orochimaru has his grand entrance. We meet Gaara. The Leaf Village gets invaded. Kabuto. Yeah. Everything about Kabuto and how he fakes his way into the group of main characters. Sakura cuts off her hair, which is the peak of her character development, and it was all downhill after that.
The third Hokage dies. We meet Jiraiya.
That's right. We met Jiraiya during that arc, didn't we?
It's like, yeah, during the training arc between the first tournament and the last tournament.
That's right. Yeah. Good lord, the tuning exams did last quite a while, actually. The overall arc was a long one.
It's like the tuning exams gave us our main cast, the Konoha 12. It's like we got Naruto's team, but we also had Guy's team, Shikamaru's team, and Kiba's team. It's like we got the whole squad together, plus the Sand Ninjas. It's like these are the people we are basically focusing on for the rest of the series.
Right. That was our whole primary cast. And even after the tuning exams wrapped up, the rest of those characters would all be very vital and important throughout the rest of the entire story, except for Sakura.
For Sakura.
Yeah, it was really cool. I still remember watching through Shippuden, specifically the arc where, what was the name of Shikamaru's mentor?
Asuma.
Yeah, I remember when Asuma died. And watching what Shikamaru had to go through, and that's around the time that as a viewer you really find out how clever Shikamaru really is as a tactician. And sometimes I would say to myself, man, I'd watch a whole show just about Shikamaru.
Yeah.
I think it'd be really cool to have side stories focused just on Shikamaru and watching him go through missions, because that to me felt like true ninja stories right there. Like that kind of harkened back to the roots of what Naruto started out as. Meanwhile, in Naruto, he is becoming Goku, and
Yep.
that's fine. He had to be, but I always really liked watching the story of Naruto through the lens of Shikamaru, because he always saw everything as a tactician, and it was just he is crazy intelligent.
Yeah,
Super crazy
his IQ was over 200. He beats the dummy thick 189.
He did.
Is that still
He very much did.
still a meme? Are we still relevant?
I think it is. Yep. I'll never forget the tuning exam fight between him and Tamari, where he just threw the game after he had won.
Yeah, it's like he basically won, but he's like, I don't have a real tactic for actually beating you, but I beat you in every other way possible.
Yeah, he's like, this is such a pain. I am so tired. I've used up most of my chakra by this point. If this is what the rest of the exam is going to be like, I don't want to do this. This is a waste of time. I respected the hell out of that man after he said that and he threw the match. Like, that's how I knew Shikamaru was a suave, cool character. So, the tuning exams, they introduce a bunch of characters that, become fan favorites. It's not just Naruto anymore. You got Shikamaru, you've got Kiba, Choji, pick your favorite. Like, everybody remembers at least one or two fun things about each of these side characters.
Yeah.
So, overall, great arc. The craziest thing, though, about this tournament is that there is no proper end to it.
Yeah, there's no official end because they get interrupted by a whole invasion / destruction of the leaf with giant snakes and enemy ninja attacking. The third Hokage has to fight a snake man who revives some zombie presidents. It's like, oh boy, it's a wild time.
Yeah, it was definitely pretty nuts. What gives me chills...
But you know what the greatest thing about all this is that in the end, after all the dust is settled, even though we don't have a winner for the tuning exam because they never finished the tournament, Shikamaru still gets his promotion to...
Oh my god, that's right.
To tuning.
He still got promoted because his was like the last match to properly end, right?
Yep.
That's so funny. He didn't even really want the promotion, which is the funniest thing. He purposely throws the match, and because it was the last proper match before Gaara explodes and the Leaf Village gets invaded, they're just like, you know what? What was that name of that one kid who he was pretty clever, right? The one with the Shao technique, the scrawny one. Yeah, the one who looked like a total loser. Yeah. I like his gall. Yeah, let's give him the promotion. Why not? It was the most recent match, so that's
like
about...
his test scores and everything else. It's like it pointed to him being the best option. It's just still hilarious. Also, Anime Adept is pointing out Obito is underrated. Okay, so let's hop into Shippuden real quick and let's talk about some stuff there.
Sure. That's like the next big stage because we'll trace back around to the Rescue Sasuke arc, but I think the Shippuden's really where people want to go. Yeah.
So Andrew, do you remember the mystery behind Toby? Who do you think was behind? Did you remember if you had any idea who was behind the mask before we actually found out who it was?
I definitely didn't think it was Madara, but I don't think I had any real theory at the time. I was around when all the discussions and speculation were happening. I didn't have any solid guesses, and I kind of ignored Obito for a while because he plays himself off as a joke character during the early stages of Shippuden. He doesn't seem to be a key player. He's just another eccentric dude who is really dangerous. The Akatsuki was full of them, right? Had tons of eccentric guys, not just Obito. But if I had to guess, I'm pretty sure my number one guess when Toby's identity was still unknown was that, okay, it's got to be somebody from, like, the Leaf Village. It's got to be somebody... like maybe from the Anbu, possibly, Because the
yeah.
Anbu were all
mask
extremely dangerous ninjas. Yeah. Like, they all wore masks in the Anbu, so I was like, well, I guess it only makes sense that an Anbu soldier would continue to hide their identity and wear masks. So that must be who Toby is.
Yeah,
I was super
that's not a bad
duper
idea.
wrong. I was super duper wrong.
Definitely, but that's an interesting theory. I can't remember if I had an idea who it was, but I think, if I'm not wrong, one of the Storm games spoiled it for me, or it helped me figure it out, and I can't remember which game it was.
The Storm games, they kind of assume that you're caught up. You know, if you were around when the Storm games came out, like, they would typically spoil things. So, like, they would actually cover topics before the anime did. They would just adapt straight from the manga. That's kind of why the Storm games take some liberties during the third volume, especially. Because they
had to cut it short since we were in the midst of the war arc. It's like, we can't actually tell people what happens, but we need an ending for this game.
Right. So, yeah, there were some spoilers in there, but who do you think Toby was? Did you have a theory?
I don't think I had a theory. I was always along for the ride because I just didn't. Like you said, he was a joke character. There was nothing to care about until we saw his Sharingan, and then I was like, it's like they showed his Sharingan at one point, and then I think they did the Kakashi on the battlefield flashback episodes, and I'm like, oh, so it's Obito.
Here's the thing, is that I actually saw those Kakashi flashback episodes out of order from the rest of the anime. I watched that before I watched the episodes leading up to it. So I didn't know exactly when they aired. I didn't have any hint as to where that was going, right? You know, I was like, oh man, this is a really sad story about Kakashi.
I think even the manga put this story like at the very end of part 1 of Naruto, so no one was gonna get any ideas like that.
Anime Depth says Toby with Dataro is hilarious.
It was. They were definitely an amazing duo.
Yeah, I definitely liked seeing all the different Akatsuki members throughout the series. There were some really interesting ones. But, it's so easy to dismiss Toby up front, and then they air those Kakashi Chronicles afterwards. It was super duper cool. In my opinion, I almost wish that they chose somebody else to be Toby instead of Obito. Because I loved how tragic and short that Kakashi flashback arc was.
Yeah.
I thought that it really was powerful that Kakashi, he has his Sharingan because of his dim-witted Naruto-esque team member who gave it to him as a graduation gift, right?
Yeah. Because Kakashi had just became a Jonin at, like, what, age 12, 13?
Yeah, which is absolutely bonkers, unheard of. Not even Shikamaru was a Jonin at the age of 13. So... I just felt like the whole arc about Kakashi, that flashback, it was tragic, it was well written, the pacing was great, and it ended very shortly. I thought that was a good way to end off Kakashi's whole backstory, and it would make sense that would continuously affect his conscience for the rest of the series. And then they resurrected Obito, and they're like, hey, guess what? All you Redditors out there who were memeing about, oh, hey, if you rearrange the letters of Toby, then it spells Obito. Oh my god, we figured it out. Ha ha ha, it's totally Obito. Yeah, they were freaking right. They didn't want to be right. Oh my god, that was supposed to be a joke. It wasn't actually supposed to be Obito. Why would you do that? That's too on the nose. Oh my god.
I laughed so hard when I put it together. It's like, Toby, Obito. Really? You could have come up with a better name.
I'm like, why Kishimoto, why did you phone it in like that? Please. Yeah, dude, it was it was almost hilarious when everybody found out Toby's identity. It was like, no. If one of your friends told you, hey, guess what? Toby's really Obito, you would just stare at them and been like, you're trolling. You're trolling.
Actually, that's exactly what happened.
Of course not.
I told someone Toby actually was Obito, and they looked at me like I was crazy.
Oh, dude, Anime Adept also says, to be honest, at the time, somebody else surviving the Itachi massacre was unreal. And he's right. We thought that we thought that most of the Uchiha were dead. Like, Sasuke was supposed to be the only survivor. How could there be another Uchiha out there? Well, as fate would have it, we overlooked one small detail. There was half of a young boy crushed underneath a boulder, but he wasn't totally dead yet. And he was only
nearly dead.
He was only nearly dead, and he just so happened to get rescued by the worst Uchiha of all time. The most violent...
The literal devil of the ninja world.
Pretty much, yeah. So, unfortunately, the Anbu Black Ops and the Leaf Village heads at the time were not so lucky. They thought they got rid of most of the Uchiha, but they were dead ass wrong. So, yeah, Toby, it's a big freaking deal. Didn't expect him to be. That came out of nowhere. I still remember seeing the 6th opening for Naruto Shippuden at the time. It was the song Sign by a band called Flow. And in that was the opening for the final arc where Sasuke fights Itachi for the last time.
Yep, and also Jiraiya's fight with Pain.
Yep, that was the arc. That was such a crucial moment for the whole franchise. Two beloved, extremely popular characters, Itachi and Jiraiya. Both of them died during that arc, and it was a huge transformation for Naruto and Sasuke on a personal level. So, watching that scene in the opening where Sasuke and Itachi are dueling each other, and then off in the distance you see the rest of the Akatsuki who are still alive by this point. Not a lot of them. Most of the Akatsuki are dead. They've all been murdered. But the last few surviving members are just standing by watching the rest of the battle play out. And you get that close-up on Toby's mask, and the lightning flashes, and you see that Sharingan in the hole of his mask. And you're like, oh my god! What the heck was that?
Yeah.
What do you mean he has the Sharingan? Wait, he's a serious character? He's actually a threat? What? So that was a super big reveal at the time.
And then it keeps compounding on itself because you find out that Obito as a 15-year-old went toe-to-toe with Naruto's dad.
Oh my god, that's right. In that flashback where we find out how 4th Hokage died protecting the Leaf Village, Obito was 15 taking on the 4th Hokage, and Obito pretty much broke even in that match, didn't he?
It's only because his weird Sharingan ability is kind of broken. It's like, how do you fight someone you can't touch?
The friggin' Kamui, man. It's so good. But it's such a cool ability. I love the Kamui.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so that was the big reveal around that time was Toby's identity. Do we want to just skip forward into the 4th Great Ninja War, since I think that's really what everybody loves talking about nowadays? There's a bunch to talk about here. There's only, look, for our listeners and viewers, we apologize. There's only 2 of us here, so there's only so much we can talk about within this one podcast. But we're trying to cover it all as broadly as we possibly can because it is a large series. By the way, I don't want to talk about Boruto in this podcast. I'm just gonna say that now before we get too far. I haven't.
I'm gonna have to bring at least 2 things in Boruto.
I want to talk about Boruto. Ugh. I'll let you talk about Boruto. I'll let you cover Boruto at the end. I got nothing to say about it.
Well, yeah, you're not watching it or reading it, so that's fine.
I watched the movie. That was it. I watched the Boruto movie. The Boruto movie was good. I'm like the only person who believes that for some reason.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
But yeah,
let's talk about the fourth Great Ninja War and the absolute bull crap chicanery that Kishimoto had to put us through.
The fourth Great Ninja War lasted a really long time in the manga.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the fourth Great Ninja War lasted over half of Shippuden's runtime. It just feels like it to me, at least.
I think you're right, and it makes sense considering how much filler they threw in during the fourth Great Ninja arc in Shippuden. It's literally a war, right? Involving thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. So there's tons of side stories that take place outside of just Naruto's perspective. The anime recognized that and saw that as a golden opportunity to make a bunch of other stories that weren't in the manga. It was smart. I respect that. But overall, the arc, both in the manga and in the anime, went on for a supremely long time. And, geez, when would you say that the war officially started? Because we had the build-up with Naruto's training, right? He went to go train with Killer Bee. He awakened QB mode. And that was a whole arc in itself, was, Naruto, traveling across the ocean to, different islands.
Naruto on a boat. God.
It was a smart idea, in theory. But the execution was horrible. Again,
it was the Shadow Clone Mutiny episode, which was funny as hell.
That's the one I remember the most, was the Shadow Clone Mutiny episode, where they all turn on him. And they all obtain a sense of agency. That was so bizarre, yet oddly satisfying, because I think a big theory up until that point of the fan base was okay, so the Shadow Clones can clearly move on their own, and they talk to each other like they're all Naruto mentally. So what would happen if they actually just took control of themselves rather than allowing the main version of Naruto to control them? What would happen? That was funny. And it meshed really well with being on a ship, because that's kind of a pirate story too, right? Is mutiny against the captain. Sorry, we're diverging here.
It's oh, we've hit a filler arc. Oh no, Kishimoto, what have you done to us?
It's literally just one episode. It's just one episode, but it's so funny.
But so the fourth Great Ninja War, I mean, we could technically argue that it begins the second Obito, pretending to be Madara, declares war on you all. The fourth Great Ninja War.
Right.
But yeah, the first official battles don't start until after Gaara gives his amazing speech.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he did give a really cool speech, didn't he?
Yes, he gave the grand rallying cry for all of us, to the entire ninja world, to come together, because once again, up until this point, technically the world has still not been at peace. The only two villages kind of at peace right now are the Leaf and the Sand Village. Everybody else kind of either doesn't talk to each other or kind of hates each other.
Yeah, the United Ninja Nations, it was pulled together at the last moment in a desperate attempt to oppose an onslaught of power. So there were so many pre-existing conflicts and schisms between these nations that hadn't been resolved yet. Still tons of hatred and bloodshed that hadn't been properly settled. So yeah, there was a united ninja nation. Everybody was wearing the same headband, but did they want to be there? No. Were they effectively working together and alongside each other like brethren, like comrades? No. There was no real sense of unity amongst the troops. And that was not getting our main characters anywhere. They needed an army. And what they had was just a duct-taped group of people who just kept bickering with each other and saying snide remarks that led to fistfights within the troops. Yeah, it wasn't good.
So yeah, there was that. Officially speaking, I think the the first move of the war arc was Kabuto using like revived Datara to capture Yamato.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
that
like
happened
once
too.
Yamato was caught, that was basically the first move of the war, and then we had the commando fight with Kankuro and Sai and a couple others fighting the first few resurrected soldiers.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, once the resurrections started taking place, that's when you knew that like the war was starting up. Like things were getting really awful. Which, by the way, how do you even fight a bunch of resurrections? Like, how do you win against animated puppets, essentially?
You fight them until you hit them until they're down for a minute, and then you seal them.
Okay, so it wasn't just hit it till it dies the second time. It was like you actually have to properly seal them.
It's like you have to restrain them, and hopefully you have a sealing jutsu that will hold them.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Let's see. So that massive battle where Madara first actually makes a real appearance, and he just slaughters like scores and scores of people in the Sand Village. When did that battle take place? Because I think that's one of the few Fourth Grade Ninja War battles that everybody is familiar with.
Yeah, we can say that is, I don't know, probably 2/3 through the war, because at that point Naruto is on the battlefield as well with his shadow clones.
He's finally made it. You know, he has distributed himself properly amongst all the different areas.
So yeah, it's like we've had some of the major fights up until this point were some mirror match rematches for some minor characters. I think one of the biggest fights was when Naruto and Killer Bee went up against reanimated Itachi and Nagato.
Okay.
And then after that, yeah. So I think Madara appearing on the battlefield was like the third most important battle, maybe fourth, because technically on that battlefield, just before Madara shows up, Gaara's company was fighting reanimated Kage. So they were fighting Gaara's dad, the old Mizukage, the Raikage's dad, and the old Tsuchikage.
Which was already a pretty difficult battle for Gaara's troops. They barely survived that, and then they had to fight like seven Madaras that all have Susanoo.
No, it was just five. It was just five, but it
was five.
It was
okay.
No, it was a total of 25, because they were telling him once the five Kage were able to get to the battlefield after Madara did all his bull crap, which we explained in our that this is Madara Uchiha video. After he does all his meteor bull crap, and the five Kage show up to finally try and fight him, they beat him down enough, and then he's like, okay, so 5-on-1, that's what you said, right? So he makes 25 shadow clones, so that 25 wood clones, so 5 of them can each fight a single Kage.
Yikes. It's just not fair. What do you do about that?
He asked, would you like them to use Susanoo or not?
And then, like, we never go back to that battle until he's already just decimated the 5 Kage.
Yep.
We don't actually see how that battle played out, which was so ridiculous and crazy at the time. But it was, that's kind of around the time that the power scaling was just getting out there. Madara's presence alone just spiked everything up to a whole new level.
Yep.
That was also the same battle with the, what do you call it? The double planetary devastation.
Yeah, that just before the planetary devastation was the move is called Heaven Concealed, because he brings one meteor and then hides a second meteor behind it.
Yeah, dude, the Tsuchikage barely blocks that first moon that falls onto the entire battlefield. Just as he stops it, everybody's like, yeah, we did it! We're all alive! Oh my god! And freaking Madara is like, okay, good job, Tsuchikage. Now, what will you do about the second one? And as the viewer, you're like, the second what? Boom! The clouds just separate. Like, the clouds just divide in half and an entirely second moon directly above it. And let's put like a guess on how many people were actually there in that battlefield. I'm gonna say there must have been easily 100,000 shinobi. I think we had 6.
Very off because
I think we had like
company
6
only
left.
had 20,000 people total, and at that point we can assume after Madara beat the crap out of at least 50% of them, there was maybe 10,000 people, maybe 5,000 people alive on that battlefield before the meteors hit the ground.
Okay, that makes more sense. After the meteors hit the ground, there were 6 people left, including Naruto and the Kazekage, by the way.
The Naruto was a clone. It was
The
a shadow
Naruto
clone
was a
of Naruto.
freaking clone. Yeah, it was.
So let's move past Madara beating everyone's butt to Madara beating everyone's butt when they bring out the Ten Tails.
The Ten Tails. Good lord, that thing is terrifying to look at. Thing is, it is a freak of nature. It's actually an alien, right?
Yeah.
So
suppose
of course it doesn't look natural.
I don't know what the Biju are supposed to be, because the Ten Tails is the manifestation of the tree, the chakra tree, or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's like it only exists whenever someone takes the fruit from the tree, and then it goes out to reclaim the energy it's technically given out.
I think around the time that some fans of Naruto were slowly getting burnt out or falling off the franchise, it wasn't during the Fourth Great Ninja War. I'm just going to say it. I think the Fourth Great Ninja War happens, and then there's a whole nother arc after that, which is strictly just Naruto, the 4 resurrected Hokage, and all the main characters versus Madara and Obito. Like,
yeah,
that is a whole entire arc itself that does not feel like the rest of the Fourth Great Ninja War that precedes it. And so I think around that time that the Ten Tails shows up, they create the chakra tree, and then we have the big flashback about Obito and him like coming to terms with why he's doing what he's doing. We've been in this war for like probably 4 years now as viewers and as readers. I think we've been in it for a long time.
Yeah.
So fans were just falling off because it started to seem like there was no end in sight to this series. Like Naruto was just going to keep dragging on this last battle forever. It was cool, it was hype, but it also felt like, okay, can't wait to read like next week's chapter, and then next week's chapter would come and be like, okay, what happened? Like, yeah, Naruto fought Obito and Madara again. Some stuff happened, but we haven't moved much further in the plot. We're not really moving forward in terms of plot. It's just been fighting for like chapter after chapter after chapter, episode after episode, week after week. It started to drag out by that point. I was still in it because I was like, I've come too far. I've dedicated so much time to this. I may as well finish it.
It's a time sink. Yeah, it's a time sink at this point. It's
Sunken cost fallacy, they call it.
That's what it is.
Yeah. So, you know, and I'm not complaining about it. Like, I found it fine, but I am just saying that this was around the time that Naruto started, like, the power creep was getting super duper bad, and the battles were just prolonging themselves, and I think a lot of fans fell off during that time.
But hey, we eventually got to probably the hypest moment, Night Guy.
Night Guy! Yo, dude! That was super cool. So, let me get this straight. He opens up a gate that he's not supposed to, right?
Yeah, he opens the 8th gate, which is the Gate of Death.
Yeah, he unleashes that so he can fight Madara one-on-one. That came out of nowhere. That was like, a fan favorite moment that people have been waiting for a very long time. People wanted to see what the Eighth Gate was like, and this was Kishimoto's answer to that question. It was pretty surreal. Night Guy became a fried corpse by the end of it. Yeah, he was deep fried afterwards.
I argue that Night Guy should have died after that.
I think it would have been far more powerful of a moment if he did. The fact that they pulled back from that. How did they heal him? Did Naruto use his Sage of Six Paths ability?
Yeah, Naruto had god powers now, so he just pulled a Jesus and resurrected the dead.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what he did. Naruto by this point has become Jesus. When I think Obito takes back the Sharingan from Kakashi, or maybe it's Madara that takes the Sharingan from. I can't remember which one, but he loses.
There's so much eye swapping during that time. No one knows whose eyes are whose anymore. Right? Why do eyes work like light bulbs in this show? I don't understand that.
They do just kind of swap them out one for the other. Yeah, just take this eyeball, put it in your eyelid, and there you go. It works just fine, right? Thor did that with a glass eyeball in Ragnarok.
in Infinity War, so yeah.
Infinity War, yeah. Yikes. It is super duper funny when you look at it like that. But so Naruto, he heals Kakashi by just being like, hey, come here. Puts his hand on Kakashi's broken eyelid, moves his hand away, and Kakashi just has an entirely new eyeball. Like a natural one. Not a Sharingan.
A natural functioning eyeball. It's not special, but it's an eyeball nonetheless. It's like,
this is like, oh my god, what is happening?
How?
Resurrection jutsus. Naruto's literally Jesus. Sasuke has the Rinnegan as well. I didn't see that coming. I thought Naruto was going to get the Rinnegan instead.
Yeah.
Because of the Uzumaki clan.
I spent like 2 years claiming that obviously the Rinnegan is the final evolution of the Sharingan. So it makes sense that he would have gotten it, but it also only makes sense if you don't realize that the only person who's supposed to have the Rinnegan are the Uzumaki or something like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it was like, wait, so it comes from the Uzumaki clan, but Sasuke has it? What is going on here? Because Pain was an Uzumaki. He had red hair just like Naruto's mom did. Golly, yep. The lineages and the Gekkei Genkai just get super extrapolated over time. You're kind of like, what goes to what? People are having hour-long discussion videos talking about okay, so this bloodline is connected to this bloodline. This is how Pain got the Rinnegan. This is how his mom could have inherited this. Holy cow, dude. I forget that Minato is not an Uzumaki. He's not. Yep. Naruto's the only Uzumaki to have friggin' blonde spiky hair.
Yeah, he's an Uzumaki because it was safer for him to have that last name than it was to have the fourth Hokage's last name.
What was
Even though that probably would have made his life so much better.
I know, right? Just who couldn't figure it out, for crying out loud? He's the only male character in the entire village with blonde, spiky hair. God, why make his life horrible? You could have just... What was Minato's last name? Do you remember?
Namikaze.
Yeah, dude. It could have rolled off the tongue really well. Naruto Namikaze. I don't understand why they did that to Naruto. Why they're like, yeah, we're just gonna make him the most hated person in the entire village. That
was even. I was like, I'm pretty sure it was either the fourth Hokage who left that as part of his will, or the third Hokage was supposed to be like, oh right, I was supposed to do that. Instead, he put him in this small apartment that he barely did anything for him.
Didn't even really put him in an orphanage. He just put him in a single apartment home and gave him a food budget and left the kid to his own devices. I feel like that's a bad thing to do.
Yeah. A YouTuber that I like / a TikToker, I guess, but I watch all this stuff on YouTube, did a whole series of skits where we see the third Hokage up in heaven, and he runs into Naruto's mom, and he has to explain all the chicanery that went on with Naruto's life. and she basically just spends the whole time hitting him with a frying pan.
It's pretty satisfactory. That kind of reminds me of the Road to Ninja Naruto movie.
Oh yeah,
Where that was probably one of the first times we really got to see Naruto's parents and what like a life with them would have been like. Honestly, like I find the movie entertaining, if nothing else, and technically it does fit into the canon of the overall series. Like it's just a dream world. It's Toby's test for the actual event that he wants the Ten Tails for. It kind of makes sense. Yeah. But I know Road
it kind of does, kind of doesn't, because there's also an episode. There's also an episode in the anime. It was a filler episode that was a setup for the movie, but it was like Road to Sakura, where alternate reality Sakura appears in our timeline. So
what the heck? What?
I don't.
They
know.
did this?
I can't. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. The anime very shamelessly plugged other things at times. It was pretty nuts. But I mean, the anime went on for so long. Like, their goal was to make money and just drag out the plot as much as possible, and they did that. They even rounded out the full anime to a nice 700. It's a good number.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What were we talking about? We were talking about the Ten Tails. Like, we were talking about that whole arc.
The end goal of the freaking finale. So, once we get past the Ten Tails, eventually we have two different versions of the Ten Tails Jinchuriki, and after that, Kaguya. So,
go ahead and start then. Yeah, like go ahead and start, since I know that you had like a full list of topics that you wanted to talk about today.
Yeah, but so like quick thing on Kaguya. Why Kishimoto? You literally wrote yourself into such a corner that you couldn't figure out how to just, I don't know, make it so we could kill Madara and end this thing before you decided to create aliens?
Yeah, yep. We really didn't need that. Like, I was fine with chakra just being like a natural thing that humans could manifest in this world. But no, I was like, no. Aliens came down to Earth at one point, right? Right? Hear me out. Fans like, no aliens. He's like, hold up. Okay, so the aliens come to Earth and they plant like a tree, right? With like forbidden fruit that has chakra in it. And the humans eat the chakra. Like, no. Keep that away. Kishimoto, stop. So
yeah, it's like once again, Kishimoto apparently wrote himself into a corner, so that's the only reason we got that, I guess. They had to have an actual way to beating Madara. But I don't know. It's like playing the video game is really cool having these unlimited bullcrap powers, but as a story, this is just unnecessary.
I really feel like Kishimoto was just like phoning it in towards the end of the series. Like, he probably had a clear idea of how he wanted to end the series. And Shonen Jump is like, no, we need some more money. You can drag out this plot for like another 3-4 years, right? Just look at Oda. Just look at Eiichiro Oda. He's doing it with One Piece. He can do it with Naruto, right? Kishimoto's like, sure. Yeah, I've been thinking about this alien subplot for a while. So, yeah, that'll be a nice twist that readers want, I'm sure.
So, Andrew, do you think the show should have ended at the Pain arc?
Absolutely. 100%. The Pain arc was the actual climax of the overall series. Here's why. Throughout the entire history of the Naruto franchise, you have all these side characters with different plots, right? You have Kakashi, who is coming to terms with like how he lost his friends a long time ago. You have Jiraiya teaching Naruto how to use Sage Mode. But you also have the central theme of the setting of Naruto, which is war. There's war happening between all these different villages all the time throughout Naruto's life. Before he was born, you have What are the names of all the villages? I can't think of it on the top of my head. You have the Leaf Village.
The Leaf Village, the Sand Village, the Mist Village, the Cloud Village, and the Stone Village.
Okay, right. So they have all been clashing with one another for as long as we can remember, as old as time itself. And the Pain arc was that reality finally making its way back to the Leaf Village in broad daylight. The fighting of ninjas was not happening in the shadows anymore. It wasn't happening exclusively between different ninja villages out in the territories that buffered between villages, right? It wasn't happening in the woods. It wasn't happening at night. It was happening in broad daylight in the middle of essentially a city full of innocent bystanders and victims. People were dying left and right. You had buildings exploding. You had crucial side characters of the entire franchise also being murdered left and right before your very eyes. Shizune, right? The fifth Hokage's assistant. She just had her soul ripped from her body right in front of several other characters by Pain himself.
Yep.
Our fifth Hokage, she was down. She was out of commission entirely. We had to fight without her. Naruto was still training to learn Sage Mode, by the way, so he was nowhere to be seen. Kakashi has, a one-on-one with one of the other Pain corpses, and he risks his life to stop that one. He succeeds, but Kakashi also died. That was a big freaking moment. The second that we lost him was oh my god, this is the end, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is the Kakashi end of the franchise.
It's seeing Kakashi die, and then when Pain goes up into the sky and does the thing, now this world shall know pain.
Obliterates
Just
the entire city.
The entire village.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Buildings, people, gone. So much death, so many casualties, just scores and scores of people gone in an instant. That was big. The whole village had been leveled, and Naruto finally makes it. By this point in the series, Naruto has reached his peak. His peak power level so far. He's obtained Sage Mode, and he has all the tools he needs to fight Pain. So he finally arrives, and he has a one-on-one with our main villain right now. Because Pain is the leader of the Akatsuki. Supposedly.
Yep.
Up until this point, we knew Pain to be the leader, not Toby. We don't know about any of that yet. That hasn't been hinted at. Pain was the one who was enacting the grand scheme of the Akatsuki that Naruto and Sakura and Kakashi have been chasing after for the last several years, the last several seasons. Everything, the whole show has led up to this point of the Akatsuki coming back to invade the Leaf Village. And then Naruto watches Hinata die in front of his very eyes. And he is helpless.
Watching that was heartbreaking.
He watches Hinata just... Did she get stabbed? I think
that's what happened. It was a mix of getting stabbed, but also just getting thrown several feet into the air and then coming down so hard.
She should have died. She totally should have died from that. Instead, she was just mortally injured. She was still alive after that, but there's no way Naruto could have known. From his perspective, she was gone. That's all it took. And just like that, the Nine Tails erupted. And we got to 8 tails? I think we got to just about the level where the Nine Tails had manifested its chakra, its bones, its muscles, its flesh, and just about manifested all the fur around its body. Naruto had just completely lost control. The seal within him had been broken, and the Nine Tails was erupting, and all hope seemed absolutely lost. I feel like the Pain arc is actually where all the promises of the entire franchise had been fulfilled. That like all these promises that Kishimoto had made to his audience, they were coming full circle during the Pain arc. And that's why I feel like that was the climax of the series. The Pain arc is where Naruto should have ended, because this was before the power creep had gotten to enormous levels that they could never come back from.
Yep.
It still felt like there was a semblance of ninja combat and ninja lifestyle in this series. We make the whole joke about how it was all downhill after the Land of Waves arc, but if I were to be serious, if I were to actually give my personal opinion, I'd say that it kind of, I don't want to say it went downhill, but the show definitely changed into something else entirely after Pain. My personal belief is that Kishimoto intended for Pain to be the end of the series and had to extrapolate it out further because Shonen Jump wanted more money.
Yeah. It's like sometimes things should end, but either way, it's like I agree with all your statements, Nars. The final encounter with Pain felt like such an ending, even with the soul resurrection part where he brings back all of the Leaf Village. I still would have been okay with that, because then we could have had like an epilogue episode where we see Naruto get coronated as Hokage with everybody still around, and it still would have been fine.
Right. Another big thing. The Pain arc ends with Naruto finally being accepted by the village.
Yep.
He's seen as a hero. He saved everybody. And for the first time in his life, the Leaf Village is not ridiculing Naruto. They're not rejecting him, and they're not treating him with scorn. They are looking up to him and embracing him with open arms. They all love him. Naruto, at the end of the day, just wanted to be seen. He wanted attention. That's why he painted silly faces on the Hokage cliff statues in the first episode, because he just wanted people to acknowledge him. That's why he wanted to be Hokage. And guess what? He'd received it. Didn't even need to become Hokage in order to finally gain the attention that, frankly, he always deserved.
Yep. It's like, Anime Adept, you are right. The moment he became a legend. Big facts.
Even like Hinata had a moment too, and showed off how much she cared about him. You know, if the series ended there, I think as readers and viewers, we still could have drawn the conclusion that, Naruto and Hinata probably would have gotten together after that, because then it would have all come out into the open that she had feelings for him, and clearly he had feelings for her, because Naruto saw other people die, but it didn't trigger the reaction that seeing Hinata die triggered.
Definitely.
So, yeah, man, I still look back on the Itachi fight arc and the Pain arc very fondly. I rewatch those openings all the time. I rewatch those fights pretty often. Not as often as shooting exams, but still pretty often. The fourth grade Ninja War arc is just kind of like the arc full of divisive opinions that we all like dissect at times, and we talked about in great length, because there's things that are done poorly in that arc, but there's also good things about it too.
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest selling factor of the anime post fourth grade Ninja War arc? Like, what would you say is the biggest selling point that people should tune into after they've already defeated Madara and Obito? Because there's still plenty of anime after the fact, isn't there?
Yeah, there is a lot, and I would say that probably some of the bigger selling points are just some of the side stories they created, because I know the manga created like several small Gaiden books. So there was the Sasuke Gaiden, which is one of the ones they adapted. So that when the village gets invaded by basically suicide bombing zombies, Sasuke goes on a whole journey to figure out, solve the mystery, and basically start his journey to atonement.
Right. Yeah, Sasuke like gets his shit together, and he's like, okay, yep, I'm going to go on like another self-reflecting journey to become a better person, which was about damn time.
It's like there's that. There's a whole arc about talking about Sai. Like Sai went missing from the village. A lot of the arcs that follow it, it's kind of like shipping. It's all about settling all the ships, basically. Because I think the only arc that is truly important at the end of Naruto after the final fight is the lead up to Naruto's wedding to Hinata. That is the only thing that really matters. Everything else is just kind of showing off what some of the other characters are doing. Like there's a whole Shikamaru Gaiden that happens, so there's that. I can't remember what that one was about, but it was basically explaining what Shikamaru's doing, because he basically is working as Kakashi's assistant.
Right. He has Kakashi becomes the Hokage, so Shikamaru like assists him with all that stuff, and Shikamaru continues to be the assistant for Naruto when he becomes Hokage eventually, which is pretty funny.
It's like that's what he vowed during the war arc. It's like Naruto needs a smart assistant because he doesn't have a strong-headed brother like the first Hokage did. So I will be the man who helps guide the man who will protect our village.
I always saw Naruto and Shikamaru as being like really
actual
good
brothers, actual best friends.
Yeah, like they get along together way better than like Sasuke and Naruto do, in my opinion. Like I think those I mean, it's even embodied in their kids, right? Their kids are best friends too.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm really happy that Shikamaru like always stays so close to Naruto during those days, because you're right, you know, like Naruto is not a tactician and he doesn't have a brother to depend on. Sasuke like just goes off and does his own thing. You can't really lock that guy down. So
nope.
Yeah, Shikamaru stayed by his side. We didn't talk about the final fight between Naruto and Sasuke.
Yeah, I mean the final fights between Naruto and Sasuke in both the part 1 during the Rescue Sasuke arc and in Shippuden. Oh my god, the mind-blowing levels of animation and just the use of their jutsus is unreal. Just truly unreal.
Mm-hmm. There's not a whole lot to say about it because it's just a visual showcase by that point. It's just watching all their different abilities and how they clash with each other. It's really just a ton of fun to watch. But I'll never get over the hilarity of the ending of their fight, where both of them lose an arm. That's so nuts. They both lose an arm while fighting each other because of just the intensity of their chakra. It just obliterates both of their hands.
Yep.
But I remember seeing something circulating around Reddit at the time that last chapter came out of the battle, and it's both Sasuke and Naruto lying next to each other, and the blood pours out from both of their arms to meet in the middle between them. A very obvious visual symbol that they have become one, right? You know, Kishimoto is cheesy as hell. He's not a very clever writer by this point. He just goes after the typical cliches, and it works. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Somebody on Reddit took that scene and photoshopped the blood to look like a heart. And
it kind of already does, so it wasn't even that hard of a job.
No, it wasn't. And somebody swapped out the text from their speech bubbles with Naruto and Sasuke singing the Goofy Goober song from the SpongeBob movie. Where the two of them are like dying on the table, and as their tears form to make a heart in the middle, they both sing the Goofy Goober song. Yep. I've never forgotten about that. To this day is one of my favorite all-time memes, and I feel like you couldn't summarize up the story of Naruto and Sasuke any better than the Goofy Goober song.
Honestly.
It's
Anime Adept, to answer your question of how Sai got Ito and Rock Lee got no one. Technically, we don't know who Rock Lee ended up with, but he does have a son in Boruto, so...
You see, Rock Lee just reproduced, like, you know, what is the term? Asexually, where he just like split off like a clone of himself. He's like Orochimaru. he's like Orochimaru. He just like his pure sense of youth and passion literally culminated into a whole another person, and that is how he gained a child.
Yes. but the whole side arc basically led to him and Ino finally getting together. So post-war arc, there's a side arc where Sai doesn't feel like he belongs in the village anymore. He doesn't really have a place, so he falls into basically a cult. And
What?
eventually, it's like Shikamaru, Ino, and someone else goes out to find him, and they basically save him.
Oh, that's good. That I didn't know that he went to a cult. That's interesting.
Like there are some interesting ideas that are played around with in the post-war arc.
Yeah, I think that there are ideas worth watching. The post-war episodes for. Personally, for me, like, it's been a long time since I watched Naruto. Like, I settled with that series a while ago because it's been done for at least 5 years now. But I keep seeing all these clips recommended to me on YouTube where they're just from the filler episodes, and it shows side characters getting like a happy ending that they never got in the main story. I like that. To me, that's satisfying. So, I feel like for some Naruto fans out there, like, there's a solid reason to go back and watch those extra episodes. It's to get a little bit of closure, actually. I've tried talking to a couple of my friends about this, and they don't really believe me. They don't really agree. They usually say, well, most of the filler was pretty bad. Some of it's okay. And I'm like, well, you gotta try it, like, just give it a shot. But
yeah, there's some really interesting filler. Like, there is one that I know a lot of anime fans hate because it just takes place in the middle of the war arc. But there is an Infinite Tsukuyomi set of episodes where it's Tsunade's dream it's her dream reality. But her dream reality basically is her reading a version of Naruto written by Jiraiya, basically. But it's a retelling of Naruto, but it's like an alternate reality where Naruto's parents don't die. Him and Sasuke don't immediately grow apart, or they grow apart because Naruto and Sasuke both have their parents still, but Naruto has now the fourth Hokage to train him, so Sasuke sees the difference in power way sooner.
Yeah, like, Naruto's clearly like the favorite child, and he's just like super duper gifted, really fortunate, just has the best life ever. Meanwhile, Sasuke's dealing with all of these realities on like the bottom floor of the village. Yeah, the jealousy just spikes way sooner, which is really funny. By this point, we know that Naruto is just like super duper gifted, and Sasuke's always been jealous of that, and it's the jealousy just smacks him in the face in that story. It's pretty great.
Yeah, but yeah, other than the only other most important filler episode is Andrew's favorite episode, mine too, honestly, episode 100 of the OG Naruto series.
Yeah! Give it to me. Episode 100 of the original Naruto show. Trying to figure out what Kakashi's face looks like underneath his mask. This was after the Land of Waves, right?
That was way after the Land of Waves. It was like after we got in Tsunade to the village too, I think.
Okay,
but it was
still before the tuning exams. So, like,
I think it either was treated as a flashback or it just was a filler arc that just happened.
Okay. It still came out though during a time when Naruto and Sasuke and Sakura were still part of Team 7, and it was just like a daily lives adventures of episode. It was just them being silly. It was the silliest, weirdest episode, but as a kid I couldn't stop laughing every time I saw it because the visual gags in episode 100 are glorious. And,
it's like, what kind of lips does he have? Does he have blimp lips? Or a really tiny mouth?
Or like
maybe it's
buck teeth? the part where like Team 7, they try to persuade Kakashi to take off his mask by taking him to a ramen shop and treating him to lunch. And he's like, wow, this sure looks good, as he's like pulling his mask off of his nose. And just as they're about to see his mouth, that's when Shikamaru's team swings by to say hi, and they block their view of Kakashi's face. Oh my god. And Kakashi eats that ramen in like 3 or 4 seconds flat. Like record friggin' time. Yeah, it's if you haven't seen it yet, I don't know how you could have missed this. But please go watch episode 100 of Naruto. In fact, if you're listening to this, just go rewatch it again for fun. Like, seriously, that episode never stops being hilarious and entertaining, and I feel like it's a proper what do you call it? Like it's proper Naruto fun all wrapped up into a shell. Like the OG Naruto. It's all the energy from back then, all condensed heavily into 20 minutes. So if you're itching for some nostalgia trip, then that's the go-to episode in my opinion. I love the bird that flies overhead and says the word "aha, aha," which is moron in Japan. In Japanese, it's great, absolutely great.
They even did a sequel episode to this one where we actually get to see Kakashi's face.
Oh, did they?
Yes, they made a sequel episode. I think it's part of the post arc. It's either during it's definitely during the post war arc, but it was basically a flashback to when they were kids, and they were like, "Okay, this is it." And they got all the rest of the Genin to help out, but it's like, this is it. This is the moment we're gonna figure it out. And the whole episode, they're following Kakashi with the help of this reporter, who is secretly Kakashi in disguise, following a shadow clone of himself.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Which episode is this?
I will tell you later because I do not have the number.
Okay, I need to watch this right now. Like this sounds absolutely gold. He literally made a shadow clone of him. Why would he go along with this? Oh my god!
I think it's because he knows what the kids have been after for years now.
Yeah,
so
it's
just
so
like,
obvious.
I can have fun with this.
He's gonna troll with them. I'm bored. What does Kakashi do in his free time besides like troll his students? He just reads pervy novels. Seriously, this is why Kakashi is like the coolest, best character in all of Naruto. He's just weird enough to make it work.
Yep.
Oh god, that's great, man. So we're up on like an hour and a half right now of us just spieling. Did you have any other points that you wanted to like touch upon? I apologize in advance.
We talked about basically a lot while not talking about anything because Naruto is massive. It is huge. Unless you guys want a part 2 of this, I think we're gonna wrap it up pretty soon. I was gonna probably ask like, hey Andrew, what's your favorite opening? Because, Naruto has some bangers.
Dude, like, favorite opening, it's so difficult choosing. Like, it's such a contest. But I think the opening I go back to watch the most is opening 6 of Shippuden. The one I mentioned earlier, the fight Itachi / Pain versus...
I realized the screaming pain.
Hearing loud in my brain, but I'm going straight ahead with this scar. Drumbeat! Can you hear me? Can you hear me? It's like, holy shit! When that came out, it was so hype! Like, I remember being in high school and I was losing it. I'm like, whoa, this is the coolest anime ever! It's great stuff, and the animation and visuals and pacing throughout the opening are also super duper key. In my opinion, a great opening is not just the music, it's how the visuals fall in beat to the music.
Yep.
I really love opening 2 of OG Naruto, Haruka Kanata by Asian Kung Fu Generation. Yeah. But in my opinion, the problem with that opening, it's an older opening, so, opening animations just were not as flashy back then as they are now. So it's visually, it's just a little more simple. It's still iconic, and I love it, but I find myself genuinely just rewatching the 6th opening of Shippuden way more often because of the music, because of the lyrics, because of the visuals. That part where like Jiraiya dies and goes to the afterworld, and you see Naruto like upside down, and that one tear falls out of his eye. You're just like, oh, I have goosebumps. Like, it's so 2010 Hot Topic emo. Like, I can't get enough of it. It's so good.
Yeah. Anime Adept says Bluebird, so the third opening for Shippuden. It's like, yes, that one was really good. Yeah. Oh my god, everyone loves that. And the funny thing is, that opening hit, at least the first half of that, the first time we heard that opening was for a filler arc, so it's funny.
Yeah, it is pretty funny. It's such a banger of an opening. Yeah, I'm a big fan of that too. Like, the first 8 to 10 Naruto Shippuden openings are all really good, honestly.
Honestly, yeah.
It's
like, Heroes Come Back. Oh
Heroes
my god!
Back! Oh my god, dude! I love the rap lines that drop in that opening, dude. It's Japanese rap. It hits so different. Gotta love it.
It's like Heroes Come, but honestly, probably my favorite, and it's always gonna probably come back to this. There are so many bangers in Shippuden, but probably my all-time favorite is Go.
Yes!
We are fighting dreamers.
We are fighting dreamers. Na, 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 fighting dreamers. Na, 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 na. Man, dude, that was so cool. Just go my way. Yeah, right here, right now. Huh. Good stuff, man. Such great moments, great memories. I still remember watching the opening of Toonami, and like I'd always sing along and dance to it every friggin' time.
Oh yeah.
And you can see.
I feel sorry for kids watching Toonami now, because they won't see the Naruto openings because they couldn't budget it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, like, they have to cut the opening short for Toonami nowadays on Adult Swim because they don't have the same budget. So makes sense.
Actually, it's even worse. They just took it all away.
Yeah, that too. Like, they took it all away. I remember they didn't air Shippuden openings at all until, like, I think a couple years.
They just haven't. They accidentally did it once, and then they never did it again. So if you watch Shippuden on Toonami, unless you're watching it on demand, that's the only time you'll see the openings.
Oh shoot! I
like,
could have sworn that they had changed that, but maybe I was wrong. Yeah, okay. I mean, I don't normally get to watch Naruto when it like starts up. I always end up tuning into Naruto like a few minutes into its run because I like grabbed the snack or something before it starts. So that really blows. Yeah, I love Toonami, but man, it is sad when you don't get to rock out to the full opening before the episode airs. So, yeah, dude, but Go is fantastically cool. I love some of the filler openings in OG Naruto as well. Those are all really, really good. Actually, the last opening of OG Naruto is also a total banger.
Yeah, it is.
Like, gives me goosebumps every time I watch it. There's something kind of somber about it, in a way. You know what I mean? Like, I think if you were watching the Naruto anime as it was airing, you knew that there was going to be a long hiatus before Shippuden came out. And in that final opening, like, just it has like all these old-timey kind of visuals. Shows off the world of Naruto like it's like a scroll that you're reading through. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know what it is about that opening. Like, I love it, but it always makes me feel like kind of bittersweet when I watch it. It makes me feel emotional for some reason. That's key to a good opening as well. I didn't say that earlier. You got to have like emotion behind it. You got to make the viewer feel something, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I guess the last thing I just want to say, I know you don't want to talk about it, but Boruto is an anime that exists that is connected to Naruto, and it's mid. There's some really hype moments, though. I will never deny that Boruto can pull out some hype, but God.
Yeah. I mean, like, I have watched a few episodes of the Boruto anime, actually, and I do enjoy it, to be honest. Like, we were talking earlier about filler episodes being like a good source of nostalgia for viewers who never watched it, but really Boruto is around. It's still ongoing. If you want a new Naruto fix, I mean, there's no other place to go to, right?
Yeah.
So, and I do find it endearing how Boruto's favorite food is cheeseburgers, and he just wants to play Game Boy Advance with his friends. Like, I hardcore relate to all of that. So, yeah, man. Like, I do actually like watching some of the filler episodes in Boruto, and the action's pretty good. So, I don't have a problem with Boruto's character. I have nothing against him. I actually like his personality. He can be kind of entitled at times, but I don't find as much of a problem with that as other fans do.
Yeah, so. I'm just enjoying it. I kind of like the progression they've made. It's taken a long time, but it's like there have been some long stints of just like, oh boy, this is dragging. But there are some really good moments here and there, and watching Boruto, it's just part of the routine now, and it just feels right. I need the ninja fix in my life sometimes.
Yeah, because there really aren't any other ninja anime or manga happening right now, are there?
No, not really.
Like, I remember at one point in the mid to late 2000s, ninja anime were everywhere. You had all these offshoots and all these ripoffs and just, like, slightly more generic-looking shows that would air every single season, but you don't see a lot of ninja-focused stories anymore outside of the Naruto universe. It's mostly isekai.
Yeah,
that's kind of the era we're in. So, yeah, okay. I guess that's a good point to wrap it up. Actually, speaking of isekai, go listen to our isekai podcast if you haven't yet.
we need more help on figuring out what the heck we're talking about when it comes to isekai.
Good lord,
dude. Well, let's wrap things up. But what do you guys think? Do you think Boruto is a disgrace? Should Naruto have just ended after the pain arc? Leave a comment down in the comment section and let's keep this conversation going. And obviously, we didn't talk about everything, so we get enough likes or requests, we will do a part 2 of this.
Oh, Anime Adept also asked, are there any other anime you guys podcast about? DBZ Super, Hunter x Hunter, etc. Love the vibes. We haven't done too many anime specific podcasts. We're thinking about it. We did one about Food Wars.
Definitely do some more anime retrospective style podcasts. It'll be the luck of the draw, but it's like I know eventually we're gonna do a Bleach one for sure.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I'm gonna rewatch the whole Bleach anime just for that podcast. Yeah, it
you
really
mean
comes
watch it for the first time?
I've only watched the first 40 episodes of Bleach, so the whole Rescue Rukia arc, and then I saw half of the Fight Aizen arc. Missed everything in between. But in my defense, the reason why I stopped after Rescue Rukia, I tried the following filler arc, and it just wasn't very entertaining for me. And Drew and Matt in particular, they convinced me to just stop. They said it doesn't get any better from here. The story goes downhill. So I just I stopped, and then I tuned into Bleach every single time it was on Toonami back in 2012 to 2013. So yeah, that's really my experience with Bleach. But I'm willing to get as versed as possible because of that new anime that's coming up later this year.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah, pretty much the hardest part for doing retrospective podcasts, honestly, is everybody who's involved in the podcast. We have to have a pretty equal level of understanding about the whole show. If a couple of us really don't have a lot of experience, whereas others have seen most of it, then clearly the conversation is going to weigh in favor of the one or two people who know the most, right? Naruto really works for us because it's something both Tre and I grew up with. So, but we are, definitely looking to cover other show topics as well. So definitely be on the lookout for that. We welcome any and all suggestions in the comments below.
Yeah. So yeah, just feel free to suggest any anime you guys want us to cover, any shows, manga, anything that's coming out, anything that's been done for years. We get enough comments and votes on that, we'll consider putting it into the rotation. But once again, anyways, we'd love to thank everybody for tuning in today. You guys are awesome. Please, if you haven't already, leave a like on on this video to tell us that you enjoyed it. Share it on social media. Hit that subscribe button. And also feel free to follow us on all our social medias. We've got almost all of them now. We've got Facebook, we've got Twitter, we've got an Instagram, we've got a subreddit, and of course, we have our main website, advent7.com, where you can get all things anime, video games, and comics. From Advent7, I'm Trey. I was joined by Andrew.
Hey, don't lose your ninja way.
Yeah, don't lose your ninja way. Remember, well, dang it, I lost it. I was gonna be like,
I threw you off.
It's like I was gonna be like, anime is only real if you don't believe it. So believe it. For those of you who get it, will get it.
Don't lose your ninja way.
Yes. So from Advent7, we will see you guys next time. Yeah. Goodbye.
Yeah, goodbye.
Believe it. Databayo.
Believe it. It's time to go have some ramen. I'm hungry.
Yep. Casting subscribe jutsu. Subscribe no jutsu.